So what I'll do is I'll kind of talk through some of the challenges I was faced at JT, and I don't think any of them will come as a surprise to any of you out there, really. So we were heavily reliant on agencies. Between 70 and 80% of all our recruitment came through agencies, which was costly. And actually any direct applicants we had who were applying, we were actually losing over 70% of those were dropping out because our application process was laborious, to say the least. We weren't doing enough recruitment marketing, so actually we had very low levels of direct hires as well. And then kind of more, on the actual HR admin team, the systems we were using and the process was very time consuming for them. And actually that was having a knock-on effect to our hiring managers who were just kind of getting frustrated, if I'm honest, and saying, it's taking too long, Laura, to fill these vacancies. What is going on? So kind of I was moved into the role within JT to kind of see if what I could do to resolve some of the feedback we were getting. And it became very clear. So whilst we are predominantly in the Channel Islands, and that's where our headquarters are, we actually have global presence. However, no one actually knew who we were as a brand outside of the Channel Islands. And actually, even within the Channel Islands, people knew who we were from a customer side of things, but we didn't talk anywhere about who we were as an employer. So actually, the first area I had to focus on was our employer value proposition. Looking at our careers site, it was basically just a list of jobs. Our social media accounts were all about customers. There was nothing about who we were as an employer. So what I did was actually just carried out some very quick, it wasn't expensive, internal research with, people who actually worked for JT, people who'd been with us a long time, and then also people who had recently joined us. And I wanted to get a real feel for what it was like to work at JT. Because what I wanted to do was kind of portray who we were as an employer, but it was really important to me that it was true. What I didn't want was some kind of marketing spin on it, so when people did join us, they actually truly felt what I was portraying out there, and it had to be honest. And actually, our organisation is not for everyone, and that's okay. That's okay for us, but we want to make sure that people who do join us almost know what they're joining. So that was the first part. And then secondly, I also carried out some external research. Again, just myself kind of looking at our competitors and what were other people doing, as if I was almost a candidate, saying, okay, what could I find out about other organisations? And then compared that to what I could find out about JT. It wasn't pretty reading. In fact, there was pretty much nothing about JT as an employer. So in a way, I was kind of in a good place to actually make some improvements. So that was the first step in kind of our journey, looking at our careers site, looking at things that we produce, so annual reviews, social media. But again, it was important for me that it was actually our people. So we wanted to have, a real face behind our brand. So we absolutely used our employees. So we did videos with our employees and photos and had testimonials from real people who worked for us. Again, just to kind of bring out that human side and that real people side of our branding. And then I kind of, had to work alongside marketing to make sure that it was kind of all aligned. So anyone who's starting this work, I would absolutely get marketing on board, but my piece of advice is don't do the marketing spin. Do it from a HR perspective, from a candidate perspective, because it does have to be kind of true. So once I'd kind of got all that in place and kind of did all the videos and pictures and so forth, what kind of struck me was actually talking to people who worked for us was actually how proud they were to work for JT, and actually how they would recommend us to their friends and family. So the first thing I did straight off on the back of that was, as Tom's alluded to, is I introduced employee referral schemes. Again, it was very simple. I didn't actually make them kind of, go through any kind of system. It was just, if you've got a friend, family member who you think would be good for one of our jobs, just email me the CV along, with your note that you're referring them. And then we did, at that point, the budget wasn't massive. So we just did very small referral payments, dependent on the level of the role. But actually, people almost wanted wanted to recommend their friends and family anyway. So the fact they kind of got a small monetary amount was almost a bonus to them. And actually that's continued to work really well. And again, we've been able to kind of increase the referral fees on that, because it is working really well for us. And actually we can see the retention of people who get referred from existing employees is a lot higher, which is great. So during the work I did on the employee value proposition, it became very apparent that our candidate experience was awful, and hence, I guess, why we had such a bad dropout rate. It was very difficult for people to apply for a job. It would take way too long. As Tom kind of said, it would registering account, and I needed to know every single bit of detail about them. I really didn't. So what I wanted to do was to look at a different system, but it was kind of really important for me. I didn't just want another application tracking system. For me, I wanted, bearing in mind, in the back of my mind, I'm spending a lot of money with agencies. I was looking for a tool and technology that would help me source these candidates. We're not a big HR team. I don't have, a great big recruiter team to be trawling various kind of professional networks looking for candidates. I needed technology to kind of help me. And that's where I discovered Pinpoint. So we've worked with Pinpoint now for just a year now. And they helped us with the bringing to life our career site, again, very much with our employee value proposition in the back of their mind as well, that, we had to have the people element. And then we use them obviously now for our sourcing of our candidates. And it was quite a shift, to be honest, for the organisation. I'm not going to lie here and say, it was easy, because it wasn't, because actually the mentality of our organisation, our hiring managers, was very much the default position was, go to an agency, please, Laura. So it did take some education for them to understand. But I did have the stakeholder buy-in from both actually the CEO and the CFO, which did help. And so one of the methods I kind of very much used was, you know what, guys, let me try doing some direct sourcing for a week. And if you don't have the candidates that you're looking for in a week, then fine, I will go to the agency for you. But actually, good news was, no, we didn't actually need to go to the agency. So with the help of Pinpoint, we could find these candidates directly. And for us, it was all about, going to the right places. So we do a lot of kind of sponsored adverts through social media. But it's about, a lot of the roles at JT can be quite niche. So we've got some, call center, retail roles which have high volume, but we've also got a lot of niche roles, so a lot of software developers, where they're not looking on the standard job boards. So we actually had to work with Pinpoint to go out and find these people. What are they looking at? What games are they playing? What websites are they looking at? How do we get in front of them? And that's something I had absolutely no experience of whatsoever. So I was very kind of reliant on Tom and his team to help with that, which they did. And again, it was all around looking at sometimes some of the wording we used in some of our adverts, some of the images we used, what does attract the type of people we were looking for. And those kind of the changes we had to make. As I said, we've had Pinpoint now for a year. And it kind of speaks volumes that actually 90% of our recruitment now comes direct. So it's only a very small minority that I have to use an agency for. And it's the headhunter type roles. It's the very senior. We've just recruited for a CFO and roles like that. So it's not our standard roles that that we would using. That all comes direct. As I kind of touched on, as it wasn't all plain sailing. So the managers were actually the biggest hurdle, and we had to do a lot of education for them. One, to see the value in direct sourcing, and actually as well for them to understand that they had to sell themselves and JT as much as the candidate had to us. And obviously these were pre-COVID times, so we very there wasn't as as many candidates out there as there is now. But we very much had to, re-educate managers to say, what, during this whole recruitment process, you have to be selling yourself. Why would someone want to come and work for you? Make it personal. And one element that really helped with that is on our adverts, you'll see, if anyone wants to go and have a look at them, there's a hiring manager profile, which brings it to life. So it's no longer just this JT brand. It's actually the person. This is who you're going to go and work for. You're going to go and work for Laura Bello. This is who she is. We get them to talk about things that, are personal. What's their journey? How did they join JT? What are they interested in? Because actually, as you're going to work for that person. It has to work for you. And it worked really well for us. And actually, it's been so successful that our CEO has given the remit, actually, that basically said, Laura, if people do not provide you with their hiring manager profiles, you are not to advertise their vacancy. So he completely endorsed it. And again, it's working really well for us. We get brilliant feedback from candidates saying, I really like that element, because then they go and look them up on various social media sites, and really find out who they are. And then also what we did was managers was encourage them to share our jobs. So it was always seen as a bit of a, oh no, you have to be careful, sharing things on social media when you work for JT. But actually we kind of took a step back and said, actually, why? Yes, managers, please go out, share the jobs. And again, I kind of run a little bit of a competition in-house to say, actually, you know what? The person who shares the most jobs is going to get a voucher. And it just seemed to kind of drum up that, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to start sharing all the jobs, because people are genuinely proud to work for JT, and they do want other people to kind of come and work for us as well. And again, it just added that human element. It doesn't cost anything for them to share a job, and it cost me, 50 quid voucher, and I got loads of applicants, so that was good. The reservations that people had, and it's probably an area we're in now, is the volume. So if you're doing something, say for example, one of our high volume areas, so like a call center, if we put out an advert for a call center, the concern from hiring managers was, oh my God, Laura, I'm going to be overwhelmed with CVs. I just want to use an agency because they'll do the filtering. And again, I kind of had the same challenges. Let's just see what we get. And so it was very important to kind of, again, with the advert, make it very clear what you're looking for. And again, we use some of the kind of screening questions. So there's, as kind of Tom alluded, there's different rights to work and things like that. We couldn't have any licenses for people. And we kind of made that, we were kind of clear up front. And actually, if you don't have X, Y, Z, really sorry, you're not going to get through. And that's okay. Don't be afraid to kind of be clear about what you're expecting, because there's nothing worse for a candidate than going through the whole process when really they were never going to get the job anyway because they didn't meet your basic criteria. So be really clear on the job adverts, and obviously don't put loads of pre-screening questions in because it will put people off, but just put a couple of really tight screening questions, which again helps filter out those people who actually might not be suitable for the role. But even those people that maybe did apply and weren't suitable, managers were saying the system was easy to use. So actually to either reject people or move them on, although they may have had a volume still, it was so simple and quick to do that actually it didn't take them long at all. And even better than that was the fact that we owned this talent now. So previously, an agency, we'd put out a call at a centre vacancy with an agency, they send us loads of CVs. Lo and behold, a month later, I'm recruiting again for another call agent, and I have to start all over again. Now I don't. I have got a whole talent pool of people who have applied for a job before, and okay, they haven't been successful this time, but we can easily mark them and go, yes, they are talent. We would hire them if we had another role. So we have even got to position, in our kind of higher turnover areas where I don't need to advertise anymore. I can just go into my talent pool and find these people and say, hey, you're still available, which again is a kind of another great experience from a candidate's point of view, that we are proactively approaching these people. And I guess, and the final kind of point from me is around the HR team. So the administration for recruitment has dropped dramatically, which is brilliant from the HR team. And especially kind of during these COVID times when, unfortunately, we had to have some reductions. And what it's allowed me to do is to really focus the HR team now on, rather than spending their time, trawling through CVs and setting up interviews, which used to take a lot of time, it no longer does with Pinpoint. Again, that's a massive saving on time for us, and actually just the candidate experience. There's nothing more frustrating than a candidate than an admin team going back and forth, trying to sort out an interview. Whereas actually kind of you're putting the onus onto the candidate and saying, you know what, this is when the interview panel are available, book your slot. So what the HR team do now is spend a lot more time looking at some of the wording on our adverts, very conscious around kind of our diversity and inclusion. Hands up, a lot of our adverts will use quite male-orientated wording. So actually we've now spent some time looking at that and make sure we are kind of really attracting a diversity and inclusive kind of candidate pool. And then also one area we're now looking at is doing some blogs. So rather than us always just pushing I'm hiring content out to our talent pools, we're now looking at actually how can we engage with these talent pools just on various specialist subjects. We've got a lot of specialists within JT, just get them to write an article about something that may interest these, software developers, for an example, is a prime area that, we have a lot of recruitment in. Let's not just go out, they may not respond to an advert that says, hi, I'm hiring. Actually, they may respond to a blog about something, this latest technology or whatever it is. I'm not technical. Actually, just get them to engage with you through that. So I'm now using the HR team to work with the business to write these kind of blogs to get them to engage with another kind of talent pool, really. So kind of, I'll stop talking now. But the kind of key takeaways that I kind of wanted people to take from this is actually having a clear and true and honest employee value proposition, and make sure that is shown across all of your channels. So make it consistent, make it real, use your people. Use your existing employees and managers to help promote your organization and encourage them to share kind of any jobs or anything else that you have with their network. Use technology and data to source your candidates. I mean, Tom will probably can go into more detail about how they use kind of data behind the scenes to then go out and go, okay, someone you've hired, this is where they work, this is their interest. So actually next time, Laura, you're hiring for someone like that, we know we can go target this area, things they look at. And make your job adverts compelling. You have to sell what you are offering to a candidate. It's no longer just, we're looking for X, Y, Z, have you got it? It's actually, what can you offer that candidate? What is different about your organization? And again, be honest, because otherwise you won't retain people. If you say you're this amazing organization with, I don't know, ping pong table and a swimming pool, yada, 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 and they join and they don't have it, it's nothing more off-putting for a candidate. So you know what? Say who you are, and if people want to join you, they will. And that's it from me.